10 o'clock on the dot. We got Beans Bits kicking off like we do so often on Tuesday mornings. And I don't want to say like every Tuesday because I'm sure it's not really every Tuesday. But I gotta be honest, man. I think I started kicking these things about last December. And here we are in the middle of October. And I think I've missed two, maybe three. That's a good consistency. I like it. The spot seems to work. The 10 spot. Um, it's not too long, right? 15 minutes. You got 15 minutes, people, and we can dive into some really important stuff. And so today we're going to hit on this positive affirmation of focus. And I don't know if it's positive, and I certainly don't think it's an affirmation. I don't even know why those words came up, but sometimes they do. What I do know what I do know is that if you want to get the stuff done in your life, right, you got this list. If you're like most people, you got this laundry list of things. I know folks that have a list that's like 3 pages long of shit that they got to do. Um, that stuff's not going to get done unless you focus, people. It's just not. And so, one of the things that I talk about is taking a look at that list and cutting a bunch of stuff off of it, right? And making a do later list and a do right now list and a do maybe list and a I'm not sure why this is on the list, right? Because when we look at these long ass to do lists, we stress ourselves out about it. And like you get some anxiety, and then you get a little bit of guilt, and then maybe you get a little bit of shame, and it's like, why do that? Why do that? Don't put yourself in that position. Put yourself in a position where you feel like you're going to be productive, where you feel like you're going to be making a difference and making an impact. That's where your focus should be. Your focus should stay on the things that bring you closest to the opportunities you seek. Now, for a lot of us, it would be real easy for me to say, stay closest to the money, because that's what we're looking for, right? But that doesn't mean that's what everybody's doing. So, we gotta make sure that we're staying where we need to stay. I promised that I was gonna do something a little bit different today. I'm gonna be watching like this is so surreal, dude. I wish I could show you what I'm looking at right now. I am looking at this camera that's up here, and on this screen is me in the same outfit talking and doing hand gestures just like I'm doing, but like a minute or 6 seconds behind. We'll see. We'll see. It's so weird. I agree with you, Drew Maltese. Less stress, man. Listen, I try and figure out how to alleviate stress. I try and figure out how to alleviate anxiety. I try and figure out how to alleviate a bunch of busy work because busy work increases stress and anxiety. And I try and increase happiness, man. Happiness, fun, joy. Those are things that really matter to me. And when I'm in doing business, talking to the people that I should be talking to, it's joy and it's fun, right? It's joyful because I know I'm making an impact. So you got to work on that. So back to this focus thing. um, it really, really starts with what is it that you want out of life? And the clearer you can be and the more specific you can be, the more likely that stuff is to be attracted into your world. The more likely opportunities are going to show up that you can step into that bring you closer to that desire. But it doesn't happen as smoothly and as easily if that original what you want isn't clear. That's the challenge, right? And a lot of us don't know what we want. We don't know how to find what we want. And I'm going to tell you this, if you're not uber clear on what you want, start making a list of the shit you don't want. Why? Because if you do that, you can look at that list and you can say, all right, what's the opposite of this? The opposite of something you don't want very well could be something you do want. Does that make sense? It's not always true, right? But it's going to get you closer, right? We're trying to narrow that gap to what you do want. So there's a level of specificity that is needed. So it's weird, man. I'm still watching myself in this video, and I'm hoping some other people pop in here and comment so I can have like a conversation as opposed to talking to myself. I was talking to my buddy Charlie Wahlberg on the phone this morning, and he was asking about LinkedIn Live, and I said, I may have been using it wrong, and I had this epiphany last night that I've been using it to talk at people as opposed to speak with people, and so I was curious to see how the whole speaking with people would work, but I can't speak with people if they ain't speaking with me first. So I'm here. I'm willing to speak with you. So all right, so we got this whole idea of getting clear on what we want. And here's what I'll tell you, and I believe this to be very, very true. When we know what we want, we have to build out the why we want it. Why does it matter? Why it's important? You've heard from Simon Sinek, start with why. Listen, man, the why is where passion lives. The why is where excitement builds. The why is why things really matter to us, right? They're the things that we get really energetic about. That's where the energy is. The what can be cool, right? Like if you said vacation, right? That has some panache, it has some coolness to it. But the why you want to go on vacation, because I want to hold that beach chair down as I listen to waves come crashing over the shore. That's where that energy comes. I want to try all the best food on this Caribbean island, whatever the case may be. I want to hike up this mountain so I can ski down it on the other side, whatever the case may be. That why matters. So here's what I'm telling you: when your what is clear and your why is real strong, the hows often take care of themselves. Right? From a law of attraction perspective, they will tell you that the how is not your concern. Right? The how is the universe's domain. You have to position yourself clearly with the what and the why, and then be open and present to when the how shows up so you can step into it. I like that stuff. I really do. I think it's real too. And I've seen it be real on numerous occasions. I could give you proof of my own life and the life of people around me. When I work with coaching clients, I try and position them in the way that they believe that they are co creators, right? That they are co creating their business, their life, their existence with whatever they believe is the driving force of the universe. Some call it the universe, some call it God, some call it Great Spirit, some call it whatever, man. Some are atheists and say there ain't nothing, man, there's just me. Okay, well, then you and I are co creators. That's fine with me. Um, but if you don't get into that mindset that you are building the things you want, if you don't hold that belief, right, that you are at least partially responsible for building the things you want, it's going to be a lot harder to build. It's going to be a lot tougher to get you where you want to go. No ifs, ands, or buts. I wonder if I need to refresh this. Is that it? Maybe I need to be fresher, and maybe there'll be more comments. Well, there is another comment, so it kind of worked. I am working to learn that being busy is not a badge of honor. Need to focus on what is important. Katie Moore, you nailed it. Listen, forget busy. Busy is highly overrated. Focus on being productive. Focus on those priorities. Now, Katie, I know you were in this conversation last week, so I'm happy that you joined me here today. And so you know that the idea of priority management is greater than time management, because time, what are we managing? 24 hours? Pff, you got the same 24 hours I do, girl. Let's go get it. So I love that idea. Yeah, busy doesn't impress anybody. Everybody's busy. Be productive, get shit done, especially get shit done that matters. So love that. So we were talking about the house not necessarily being in your domain. We're talking about the clarity. And what we really need to do is stay focused on that. What is that driving thing that you are working to get done? The more you can focus on that and stay on top of that, right? The more you can be singularly focused on that, the more time you can spend on it, the more energy you dedicate to it. Maybe you're putting some resources like money or other effort or getting other people involved in it. Those things are good, right? I talk about this from a perspective of business development. When, in my own life, right? In my own life, I don't speak for me. Sometimes I'm coaching, sometimes I'm training, sometimes I'm doing keynotes. And as much as all of those revolve around business or personal growth, the people I need to talk to for each of those end up being different. Now, I can pull coaching clients from a training or a presentation. So I could use the presenting like keynotes or training as top of funnel for coaching. But, if I'm thinking about content here on LinkedIn, right? Am I putting coaching content out to try and attract coaching clients? Am I putting training content out to attract training clients? Am I doing that for keynotes, right? Each one of those things is a different funnel. Each one of those things is a different opportunity. Each one of those, there's a different association for coaching than there is for training, than there is for being a keynote speaker, right? So, where do you spend that time? Where is your focus? And the more you split it, the harder it is for the right things to find you. And I know a lot of people, a lot of people, especially those solopreneurs, those entrepreneurs, those entrepreneurs are running around doing this, that, and the other thing. Man, if we're doing those three things, this, that, and the other thing, we're missing out on the gifts that just doing those one thing could bring us. And so we're missing out on what those messaging strategies look like. We're missing out on which networking events we should be going to. We're missing out on a lot. So I highly encourage you to get dialed in to focusing on one thing. One thing. I'm going to quote my dude, Rod Hairston. Rod's a really cool cat that started a few different companies, speaking of not having a good focus, but his companies are aligned, right? They're aligned on helping you grow your mindset, helping you grow your person, helping you grow your business. That's alignment. So as long as you're staying in some level of alignment, you can actually help yourself. um Ron talks about the four laws of focus, right? The first law of focus is what you focus on, you find. And so as you're starting to look at something, right, you start to see more of it. There's this part of your brain called the reticular activating system that acts as a screen door between your conscious and your subconscious. And once you program that reticular activating system that something's important, you start to see a lot more of it. And that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. So you see more of it and it shows up, and you're like, hey, look at that. I'm with you. So we like that as a part. Um, Number two, the second law of focus is what you focus on grows. As you're looking at it, as you're paying attention to it, it starts to move, it starts to change, it starts to grow. And that's because you're putting your energy and your effort toward it. All of our thoughts, all of them, have a mechanical resonance. And there's something really, really powerful about that. And I said mechanical and I meant magnetic. And I was like, mechanical, that ain't the right word. They have a magnetic resonance. So they start to attract the things that are like those thoughts. You may have heard the phrase thoughts become things. It's because once you think about it enough, it attracts to you. Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks will tell you that if you can hold the thought for 17 seconds, that's it, 17 seconds, that thought starts to attract whatever the outcome of that thought is and move it toward it. And if you can hold that thought for 34 seconds, that movement starts really coming closer, right? And the more, the longer, the better we can hold the same thought, the closer it gets. The challenge is we have the attention span of a goldfish, so 8 seconds kicks most of our asses. Kind of crazy. All right. So number two is what you focus on grows. Number three is what you focus on appears real, right? You start to spend enough time with it and it starts to show up in your world in new and improved ways because it is what you're creating. Rhonda Byrne, who created The Secret, the book and the movie, read a book called The Science of Getting Rich. The Science of Getting Rich came out in around 1911. It was written by a cat named Wallace D. Wattles. That's a weird story. That guy, nobody knew who he was. He wrote 3 books all in 1 year: The Science of Getting Rich, The Science of uh, Being Well, and the science of being, or the science of living well, and the science of being healthy, something like that. 3 books out of nowhere, all of them just hit the newsstands at one time. Kind of crazy. um, but Wallace D. Waddles will tell you that there's this thinking stuff, right? The world is surrounded by this ether, and if enough of us focus on the same thing, we can create whatever we want, even individually, which is pretty wild. Science of Getting Rich, highly recommend going to Spotify, type that in, listen to it. It's awesome. It's a really, really good read. This last conversation on the fourth law is what you focus on, you become, right? So eventually, if you do this focus thing long enough and well enough, you actually become the thing that you've been thinking about, right? So that's powerful, powerful stuff. But you actually got to do the work. You got to show up and you got to hold that belief in a manner that is so real and so tight and so consistent that you actually become what you're thinking about and what you've been thinking about. So, all good stuff. I'm curious as to what your focus is, right? What's the one thing? Because if I say what's the 3 things you're focused on, it defeats the whole conversation today. What's the one thing that you're focused on? And I'm going to tell you, and the reason this became a conversation point for me today is I was really beating myself up a little bit last night. I've got some friends that are doing some speaking, keynote speaking, and they're getting some big fat flipping checks, right? And like the kind of checks that you could work for 4 or 5 months and not earn that much money. And no disrespect to them, but I'm a pretty good speaker. I'm pretty confident in my ability, and I've got some other friends that are pretty good speakers too that are not making that kind of money. And I think about the amount of work and effort I do for consulting gigs, and they pay okay, but they don't pay this kind of dough. Um, I like to speak. I love speaking. And I feel like everything I do that is not delivering a keynote presentation is me being too chicken shit to put myself out there. That's some real talk, right? That is some introspection. That is some diving deep. That is some figuring out my own mess. And I've known this to be true, right? This isn't news, but it is probably the first time I've ever put it out this plainly on a live, and it's annoying. So I'm gonna work on making my singular focus, getting on some of these keynote stages and finding some of these opportunities to make 20,000, $40,000. That's the kind of money these dudes are talking about for an hour presentation, 45 minutes. Make 40 grand for 45 minutes. Hi, what now? Yes, please. I'll take two a month. That's it. And then I probably wouldn't work the rest of the year. No, I'm kidding. I would. But that's amazing. Isn't it amazing? So yeah, some of the training, I like the training. I really do. In the coaching, I like the coaching. I really, really do. But I'll let those things come out as a result of doing the keynote, right? So I'm going to focus my marketing. I'm going to focus my networking. I'm going to focus my presenting skills on actually finding more places to present. I'm going to focus my LinkedIn outreach. That's it. And then anything else can just funnel in through that. Makes sense, right? That's my focus. What's yours? I look forward to seeing you for more Beans Bits, hopefully some funnier Beans Bits next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Y'all have a great week. Take care.